It's nice to meet you all. I will share my screen here in just a minute, but I wanted to just take a little bit of time to introduce myself as well as our work. So, like Caitlin mentioned, I'm the program director for the Chase program, and Chase is one of about 6 programs under Families Together. So, I'm not sure if anyone here has had a chance to work with Families Together. But if not, Families Together or Families Together Inc., sometimes is what you'll hear it referred to as, is the federally designated PTI, which stands for Parent Training and Information Center. And so every state has a federally designated PTI through federal funding, and Families Together serves families with youth with disabilities or family members with disabilities. And Families Together has been doing that for over 40 years now. And so every state in the United States would have a PTI just like Families Together. We just happen to have been awarded the grant for several decades in a row. And I think that's a real testament to the work that we do and the services that we provide. So I always like to share that. Um, Chase, like I mentioned, is one of about 6 programs. We also have programs that are specific for foster care youth. We have programs that are specific for IEP mentoring if your student has an IEP. And so there's all different kinds of programs, and I just throw that out there because even if your youth or someone that you know wouldn't necessarily qualify for Chase, and I'll get into that, who our referral sources are for Chase, you can still just pick up the phone and call Families Together anytime if you have a question, all across the state of Kansas. For any disability question that includes maybe there hasn't been a diagnosis, but you feel like maybe an evaluation is necessary, or it might be a mental health challenge or an emotional challenge that is you don't realize is actually considered a disability these days. So anyway, just make sure that you're always calling Families Together if you have questions. All right, I'm going to share my screen here and go into full screen mode. All right, I might need a all right, sweet, Caitlin, thank you. So this will be kind of a fun presentation. I get asked to talk about the Chase program quite a bit, but when Raneem reached out about this, she kind of gave me some rope to kind of make this what I want it to be. Hello, Miles. Nice to see you. And I will talk a little bit about kind of the origin story of Chase and how it started, but this presentation is all about sort of the core mission, like the real why behind what we're doing and what we really hope that people who come into contact with our programming leave with. And as I'm sure everybody here can relate, there's kind of like your job on paper, and then there's kind of like what you're really trying to achieve on more of like a emotional scale, or there's like I'm a program director under these grants, but what I'm really trying to do is just help youth kind of connect with each other and connect with themselves. You know what I'm saying? So this presentation is giving me more about sort of the more informal aspects of what we're trying to achieve. So Chase started in 2020. The Johnson County Department of Corrections went to one of our education advocate trainings for Families Together. And that's a training for anytime there's a youth who doesn't have a legal decision maker. It could just be that maybe they're in the foster care system, maybe they have a parent that's incarcerated, maybe they had a guardian that passed away, and they need someone to help them in their education setting, and they don't have like a parent or guardian to make some of those decisions. And so the Johnson County Department of Corrections, they started to recognize, oh, well, we're getting all these youth into our justice system. A lot of them have IEPs and 504s and stuff, and we don't feel like we're experts in that. And so they had attended an education advocate training, and then they had approached Families Together to partner and pretty much say, hey, can we just send referrals your way? If we get a youth into our justice system who has an IEP, can we just send them to you and you can help them with the school stuff? And so we said, sure. And so that's how Chase started. And Chase is an acronym, and it stands for Community Honoring Adolescent Success and Education. And so a lot of the work that we started initially was just the same old kind of meat and potatoes, if you will, of what Families Together has done for 40 years. And so, if they get referred, we pick up the phone. The first thing we do is we call and we talk to the parent or the guardian, and we say, "How's it going in the school setting? Does your youth have an IEP? Do they need an IEP? Is there a disability diagnosis? Do they need evaluated? Are the supports really there to help them succeed in school?" And that started just in Johnson County, serving justice-involved youth. So we did that for about a year, and that was going well, but we weren't seeing quite the buy-in that we wanted from the actual youth in the program. And so we started to spend a lot of time investing in how do we connect with young people in a way that's actually fun, actually creative, actually engaging, because you can make a lot of progress and make sure that the school is set up just right for them. But if they're not motivated to do well, then it's pointless. And so from there, we started to develop our one-on-one supports. And so in Chase, the youth in the program who get referred, they go through an 8-week program. And I can share, we'll actually do some of this together, hopefully, if you're willing, make it somewhat interactive. But they go through one-on-one supports, and it's 8 or 9 meetings, one-on-one with someone from our team. And so you can see in the picture there, that's our team. And they're 30-minute meetings. We try to keep them short and sweet so they're not boring anyone, especially because a lot of times this might be after school hours and we don't want to put any more on their plate. And they can win up to $100 in gift cards for participating in the program. And so we kind of chunk those out in $15 or $20 increments, and that's built into our grant budgets. And that's just an incentive to show, hey, we appreciate that you're showing up on time, that you're contributing to the conversations, that you're doing the activities. And that's really the program for the most part, is the parent supports, the one-on-one 8-week program, and then we also have a lot of community events that we do, which I can talk about too. So once we started implementing that, the 8-week program, the superintendent in Fort Scott approached us about implementing Chase at his school. And so we thought, well, we've been doing it pretty successfully in Johnson County for a couple of years. Why not? Why don't we try it out? And he said, well, I really love the program, but if we stuck to just justice-involved youth with disabilities, I might only be able to send you a couple referrals a year. Is there any way you can take other students? And so we thought, well, I guess we've supported quite a few youth in foster care. We've done a lot of mental health related things. We get a ton of referrals that are bipolar, PTSD, major depressive, all that kind of stuff. So we said, sure, how about we just open it up? We can also serve some youth in the foster care system and anyone trending towards truancy, because we know that leads to justice involvement. So we opened the funnel up a little bit in Bourbon County, and we started supporting those youth. And so we've been able to do that successfully for about a year and a half now. And most recently, we have now hired someone in Garden City as a part of a new Department of Commerce grant. And in Garden City, we'll be serving youth ages 14 to 24. And that grant will actually be statewide over the course of the next 5 years. So what started in just Johnson County with just me and my teammate Leah will be statewide by this time next year, and we'll probably have, I don't know, 6 or 7 youth support people. So it's grown a lot, and that's come with a lot of interesting challenges. And it's also been affirming in some ways, because we started in Johnson County, which is a more urban area, but then we have proof that it works well in rural communities, and soon we'll be challenged by Garden City, which I'm not sure if anyone here is from Garden City or familiar with the area, but there's a very, very diverse population there because of the meatpacking plant, and it brings in a lot of people from all over the world, and they have over 30 languages spoken at their high school. And so there's just, that'll bring its own kind of interesting challenges as we continue to work across the state and see which communities need what. So I just wanted to give you kind of like a snapshot of how we started and how it's grown before getting into kind of the ethos and the why behind the work. And if anyone has questions, I can't see the chat at the moment, so just feel free to unmute, This is going to be super casual. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer them along the way. Just before moving on, so right now in Johnson County, the referrals come from the Department of Corrections. In Bourbon County, they come straight from the superintendent of the school system there. And in Garden City, it's actually the first time that we'll be an open referral source. So anyone in Garden City, ages 14 to 24, can just be referred to our program as long as there's a disability need there. So that'll be fun for us there. But yeah, so that's where we're at. Those are the referral sources. Just know that if you're in a different area, Chase will be a statewide thing a year from now. And also we have things like virtual courses and whatnot that we could send you in the meantime if you're interested in this work. All right, so today I wanted to talk through what we call the 4 key C's of Chase. And this is that's just like an internal term for our team. It's not like an official thing on our website or anything. But over the course of the last 5 years doing this work and serving hundreds of families, you guys would know this in your work too, but you start to kind of see trends and you start to see what the work is really supposed to be doing. And it just so happened that for us, a lot of what we were trying to do started with the letter C. And so we developed the 4 key C's. And so those are, now go back to the first: connection, community, creativity, and communication. So there's a ton of stuff in our program that we do, but we hope that if you come into our program, that by the time you leave 9 weeks later, you'll feel more connected to yourself and to others. You'll feel like you had a chance to get out into your community. You'll feel like you were able to be creative with your problem solving and with your goals and with your hobbies. And we hope that you feel like you had a ton of opportunity to use your communication skills and hone your communication skills. So that's really what we're trying to achieve. So we're going to start with connection. And I feel like, again, this is after just my own personal experience as a human being, but also serving a lot of families and youth. It feels to me like we're in somewhat of a connection crisis. You know, there's a lot of difficulty for young people through things like social media and the internet. We hear this all the time. The Surgeon General is even thinking about putting a stamp on social media that says this could be potentially bad for your health, just like a cigarette box, which is kind of wild to think about. But there's not as much community involvement. There's not as much connection to others and also connection to yourself. And so one of the things that we try to do just right off the bat is connect. And so I'm going to take a sec just to do a quick activity with everyone here. Hopefully someone's okay with participating. I don't know. I'm looking at the screen. Maybe I'll pick on Caitlin or Rhonda because my other friend's video just turned off. Or Miles or Kelly, if you guys want to come off mute, that's fine too. But one of the ways that we connect with youth are through these little things called power cards. Can you guys see this? Okay. So we're just gonna go for this. So one of the things that we do, oh hi, thanks Miles. It's beautiful scenery wherever you're at in the mountains there. All right, so who would like to be our first volunteer? Just raise your hand. We'll just run through a quick activity that we do with youth. All right, Caitlin. All right, so we use these things called power cards. We do this at the beginning of all of our different sessions with the youth here. And we let them choose the category. And then I'll pick a random card from that category and we'll both just share our answer. And this is literally just to get to know each other. And we call them power cards because connections are powerful. And the better that we get to know each other, the more we can trust each other as we go into this work together. All right, so between strengths and challenges, which category would you rather do?
Let's do a strength. Why not?
All right, perfect. Ooh, I like this one. Okay, so the question is, what motivates you the most? Thanks for participating in that quick activity. We'll do a few of those throughout just to get a feel for the kind of work we do. Those are they're really just meant to be icebreakers with youth. I mean, even just in that 5 minutes, I learned that Caitlin got a doctorate and is really sorry, Caitlin, maybe a little type A, I don't know, maybe, but not in a bad way, just like in a motivated, ambitious way. We know that Miles has 5 kids with big age range. Irma loves potato chips. So we all know each other better, we all know each other better, and that really strengthens the work that we do. Other ways that we work on fostering connection, a big one for us is not only connecting to others, but connecting to yourself. So, for example, in week 2 of the program, we talk about positive self-talk, and we try to teach youth how to reframe negative self-talk into positive self-talk. And I also like to mention, like, we're not therapists or anything, but we do use research-based activities. So everything that we work on, there's research to back the fact that it works. Um, and with a lot of youth, there's kind of negative thought patterns happening and kind of always running in the background, and with adults as well. I'm sure all of us on this call experience that. And so one of the things that we talk about is how to identify when that's happening, reframe that into a positive so that your inner dialogue is more positive. So that would be an example of, first, the power cards foster a connection between the two of us as individuals, but a practice of positive self-talk is fostering a connection within that can hopefully help you gain some confidence. We'll also talk about soul goals a little later in the presentation, and then we do a lot of pro-social community events, along with recently some screen time studies, which has been a lot of fun for us. And we've been encouraging people to reduce their screen time and giving them things that they can do, like things to do out in the community, ideas about parks and stuff to go to. And we're doing our own data and research around this, and we're seeing that people do feel more connected to others. They're spending more quality time with their family. They're doing their hobbies more. And so this is some work that we're trying to continue to push as well. Just a couple benefits of strong connection, strong relationship, positive thought patterns, more confidence, and improved overall health. All right, so this is a picture of some of the participants at a dinner. We do a lot of events. We do what we call pro-social events, which just means getting out, hanging out with each other. We recognize that community is vital, but we also recognize that times are hard for a lot of people. And, I have a 14-month-old, and sometimes I'm like stressing about taking the family out for Thai food, much less 3, 4, 5 kids. And so we recognize that you can't just always take your kids out to pickleball or take your kids out to a movie. And so we do use some of our grant funding to organize that and send invitations so that we can not only build rapport with the people that we're serving, but also create positive connections between the families. And when you think about justice involvement, stuff like that, sometimes these people need community members around who know what they're going through, and so that they can foster those friendships outside of the program as well. So this is just an example of us hanging out at a dinner, but we've done bowling, we've done all kinds of stuff. And then every year we also have Chase Fest, which we did last year, and we just booked again for this year. And that's kind of meant to be our big annual. We call it a festival, but it's basically a conference. We just wanted to actually get teens there, and so we didn't want to call it a conference. We call it a fest instead. And it has stuff for parents and breakouts for youth. So while the parents are in one room learning about things like truancy and IEPs and all that, the youth get to do stuff like podcasting and make music. And we had people out who run a coding academy for anyone who's interested in technology. So just as a couple of examples. I do really like this picture. This is from some of our Fort Scott students. They're holding their diplomas. When you finish the 8-week Chase program, you get a diploma. And so we were celebrating them that night. I chose this photo because over to the right, we have, in the white vest on the very right, is Belinda Pitts. And she's with the mental health intervention team, which I think is now KDAD's funded. So maybe Rhonda and Caitlin, or I'm not sure if you guys have heard of MHIT, but they're trying to get like therapists into every school in Kansas. And then to Belinda's right, who's Heather Shepherd Walker there in the black She's with the community health center. And these are two people that we've partnered with very closely in Fort Scott. And I'm not sure if anyone's ever worked with a community health worker or is kind of aware of what they can do. At least in a rural community, they're kind of like a Swiss Army knife. They kind of do it all. If there's like a bed bugs issue for a family, if there's a transportation issue, if grades are really falling behind, they can help with tutoring. And I put this up here because we could not achieve the success we've had in Fort Scott without relying on community. And so some of the students pictured here will set goals to get to school on time and increase grades, and Heather and Belinda will go and pick them up. Or recently we had a student who the principal said, okay, well, you got to make sure that you're in mental health services if you're going to continue to be successful in school. And so Belinda was able to get them connected to a counselor at school. And so I just say this because we have success stories, not because there's some kind of magic bullet with any one program or person. It's all about getting everyone together, focusing on their strengths. And so we've had some awesome community interactions in all the communities that we're in. So relative to community, we kind of think about this from two perspectives. One is the quantity of the interactions, and the other is the quality of those interactions. And so in Chase, like I mentioned, you're going to get 8 to 10 one-on-one interactions with someone in your community. That's, someone on our Chase team. This is a positive connection for you. This is someone who can help you achieve your goals. You're also going to get invites to those regular pro-social events. We also do a random act of kindness challenge. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the SMART goal model, probably. I know they teach it in a lot of schools, but so SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. And if you can fit your goals into that, you're much more likely to achieve it. And so we teach the SMART model in week 4 of the program through a random act of kindness challenge. And we have there's two components to the challenge. One is you have to do a random act of kindness for someone in your family or your friend group, or basically someone that you know. And that has to fit the SMART model. So an example of that might be, I will cook dinner with grandma or for grandma this week. And so it's specific because it's for a certain person. It's measurable because you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. It's attainable because, let's say in this circumstance, you have a car and you can drive to grandma's house. It's relevant. Let's say in this circumstance, grandma just really needs help. Maybe she's injured. I know my grandma right now just had a hip replacement, and so she really appreciates things like that. And it's time bound because you said you would get it done before the end of the week. And so we challenge the youth in the program to go out and do a random act of kindness, but they have to fit it within the SMART goal model. And then they also have to do a random act of kindness for another student that they've never met before. And so in the past, we've had students that will hold the door open for people or invite conversation, give a compliment, offer to help tutor someone, anything that gets you more connected to more people at your school doing something kind. So that's a really fun component of the program, and it really is just because we believe that it's important to be an active and contributive member of your community. We also, obviously, it's important to focus on quality of those interactions. And so, we're not just doing it to do it. Like, we maintain relationships for years with these people a lot of times. We actually, next week, I'll be meeting with a student who was re-referred to us. There was another juvenile justice offense. And I'm also, this particular student's mom is in our life coaching pilot. And so for the first time ever, we have a parent and a youth both going through our programming at the same time. And they've been with us for a couple years now. So long relationships, important relationships, ones that are focused on trust and friendship. Okay, so on to our how we doing, guys? We good? I know it's like 6:30. I can smell the tacos downstairs, but we're hanging in there. Okay, so creativity. So we happen to have quite a few creative people on our team. I myself have a music background and wanted to be a full-time musician for a long time. And this picture here is from Mill Creek campus, which is an alternative school in Olathe in the Kansas City area. And we run a program there called JAM. It's called Just Art and Music. And this is kind of a side project. We collaborate with another organization called Art is Mentorship. And it's a 9-week program where the school has actually allowed us to free up a Monday through Friday spot where the students can work towards graduation with creative writing credits and multimedia credits and all these things. And so for the first 4 weeks, we write songs. And it doesn't matter if you've never written a song before, we teach you how to write a song. And then for weeks 5 through 9, we say, all right, so you have this song. Well, if you were in a band, what else would you need to get your song out there? Well, you would need an album cover, and maybe if you were going on tour, you would need a t-shirt design and merch design. And so each week we introduce a new multimedia artistic experience where we bring in an artist from the community. We teach them, all right, here's how you make album covers. And then the rest of that week, the class collaborates on making an album cover for the song they made. We bring in another artist. We say, all right, here's how you do merch design. And then they can actually screen print the art onto t-shirts at the school because they have a screen printing machine. And then at the end of the program, we also do a retrospective podcast where the students lead a discussion about the program. So that's one example of how we do creativity, how we teach creativity is through the arts. Here's some other ways we do it for kids who aren't necessarily consider themselves artists. SMART goal setting. You can be so creative with this. We've had a lot of students who set their soul goals at the end of the program, and it's amazing the kind of stuff that we see. And they're just getting creative with their lives. Trying new skills and hobbies. This is a big part of our screen time study. As we encourage you to reduce your screen time, we also encourage you to pick up a new skill and a new hobby. And we ask you to go into that with a growth mindset where it's like, hey, it doesn't really matter how good you get at this. Are you enjoying it? Are you having fun? Is this something you could see yourself doing? Some people even want to turn it into a career at some point, but a lot of times it's just about being creative with your time instead of sitting on TikTok or, you name it. All right, and we also do the values letter exercise, which is, I'd like to do this as a group right now, if you guys are cool with it. We're just going to we'll take 5 minutes, I think will be good. We'll take 4 minutes, 6:36 right now. Okay. So I want you to think about, we have people write this down usually when we do it, but think about yourself at 90 years old, and you're going to write a letter to your current self. And so you're going to be thinking about what you did in your whole life. Where did you go? Who were you with? What did you achieve? What were the struggles that you had? And take just 4 minutes now to just think about that. You can write down some ideas if you want, but just think about, if you're 90 years old writing to your current self, what happens in that time frame? All right, ready, go. I'll do it too. From there, what we do in our program is we turn around and we set soul goals. So just like in week 4, when we set a SMART goal around random acts of kindness, we're reintroducing the SMART goal model, except now we're doing it around something that you're passionate about. So I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So just a few things that I've talked about, soul goals. This one in the middle is we had a youth who wanted to be an artist, but she had not had time to do any of that. So she designed us a t-shirt, and we wear those at events now. On the right, these are more students at the jam class who were screen printing the t-shirts that they made. And then on the very left, this was a cool event where we did bowling, but we had youth from Fort Scott and Kansas City there. So that was a lot of fun for us. And actually at this event, this particular youth came with 2 siblings who then, after hanging out with our team, ended up being referrals into our program. So that just really goes to show, get out with around your community, make a good connection, have some fun, and then we can partner up in other ways later on. So lastly, I just wanted to touch on communication for a couple minutes, and then I wanted to leave the floor for any questions, any clarifications. I've spoken to this quite a bit already, but, one's ability to communicate, and, we've done activities with people who are nonverbal too. So I'm not just talking about speaking, verbal communication, but communicating your needs and, self-advocating and learning how to talk to each other with respect. These are things that we work on in our program. And so there's a lot of interactions and there's a lot of chances to get better at communicating. And I think if you ask most employers, I mean, some of the people on this call are supervisors of other people. I bet if you asked them what they really want in their workers, communication would be pretty high on the list. And so same with your relationships with people, communication is very important. So we do this through our self-talk, through our gratitude practice, random acts of kindness, and soul goals. I've talked about all those. We've tried out a couple of them. But yeah, guys, those are the 4 key C's of Chase: connection, community, creativity, communication. Uh, we have a saying, to chase your dreams. That's what our podcast is called. And we also say, if you chase your dreams, you just might catch them. So I hope that everybody here learned a little something. This top number is for families together. If you have questions about Chase, you can always call that number. This is my email address. I'm happy to send more work examples or links to stuff, anything like that if you're interested. And then you can also check out our website here.